G'day fellow cartographers, it's Joe Sweeney here from Story Weaver Games, and in this tutorial we're going to build upon all the work that we've done in the past and start to add vegetation to our map. Now I'm going to show you a couple of different techniques for adding vegetation. When you are creating your maps, pick and choose between them depending on the style of the map that you've got, but also your personal work preferences. The key to putting down realistic and sort of lively vegetation on your map is planning. Mind you, planning is the key to all things in map making. But as you put down your forest, you will be able to be guided already by the mountains and by the terrain and so forth that you put down. But also think, where are the roads likely to start going through your map? Because as you put your forests down, you're going to need spaces within those forests for the roads to flow. So you need to start thinking ahead a little bit. Now, let's get to it. I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to start adding some forests to the top of our map. Now, remember that technique I talked about earlier when putting down the mountains? Top to bottom. Same thing applies for vegetation. But there are some tools here that can really help you accelerate that. For a start, I'm going to put some forests along these areas here. I actually use the fen terrain to help me plan out where I wanted my really dense forests. And to put my forest down, I'm going to come to the vegetation command, symbol set here. And you'll actually notice that there's a whole bunch of tool sets pre-set for you. And these tools, basically, when you use that tool, you just draw an area and it will fill it with vegetation on your behalf. I'm going to use the mixed tool set here to start with. And then I'm going to come in and draw where I want my forest to be. And I'm going to come quite close to the edge of that river, and that's intentional. And then across the top there, and then right click. Now, as you can see, it's given me an interesting looking forest here. But if you zoom out, it looks a little too uniform. And this is one of the challenges of using the forest fill patterns. Because they use an algorithm to fill it, they don't look natural all the time. You can make them look natural, but only in fairly small doses, and that's way too much of a dose. To undo this, and again, I'm going to zoom in so you can see this. If you've used a tool to fill a forest area, if you go Control Z, you will remove the trees, but you don't remove the background that it put in automatically under there. So I need to do Control Z again to remove that very soft background area. So how do we use this tool command to make our forests fast but still look good? Well, what I do is I break them up. So I'm going to put in a forest piece here, like so. I've got a little one, and then I'm going to do another one around here, like so. I've got another batch, and then I'm going to bring another batch along here, close to the river line, like so. And I've got another batch. Then I'm going to start working manually. So I'm going to come down here and find these little spots of trees. And I'm going to, it's probably too much actually for this particular one. There we go. So I'm going to use the individual trees to start breaking up this line a little bit. Now, not overdoing it, just breaking it up, giving ourselves a bit more funk. And I'm going to use, since this is a mixed set, I'm also going to go and find some pine trees to do the same thing. Now, if you've noticed, you'll be saying, but Joe, you're not working back to front. And that's because when you're using these automated drawing tools, it's almost impossible to work back to front. And as a result, we are going to get some strange effects happening on the outside. The good news is we have got that wonderful symbol capability here called symbol sort in a map. So I'm going to select the symbols that I want to sort, being very careful to only select the symbols that I want to sort. Don't want to select too much else. There you go. Now, I've accidentally selected that very big mountain there, so I'm going to hold down the Control key and unselect. Currently, I've got 69 symbols. Holding that down, unselect. Now I've got 68. When I've done with that, I click Do It. Now, they seem to have all come right for me. Excellent. So that's how you can break up those big blocks to make them look a little bit more natural. Unfortunately, that gap in there does not look too natural, so I'm just going to fill that using this mixed cork trees in here, and then adding another tree just to polish off that bottom. And again, I will need to use these symbols, sort symbols and map function. Oh, there's a lot of ones I didn't select in there. Let me just draw across there and make sure I've got all of those selected. Very important that you get all of the symbols that you want selected. Not that mountain, not that mountain. Do it. So that's the technique for placing down quite large areas of forestation relatively quickly. Now, let's take another look at that. Yeah, looking good. Let's put some forest down here. Now, here's a different technique, just doing it manually. For this one, I'm going to want, again, in fact, I'm just going to use the deciduous trees here. And if you notice, if I click on this and open up this, I've got lots of different options for choosing here. So I'm going to choose that little group first. I'm just going to pop it in, like so. I'm going to choose this little group here, pop it in, and then just do a few others, and then just finish it off. Now, this is where I am working very strictly top to bottom. So that forest is not as dense as the previous forest, but it gives us everything we want. Another nice thing that you want to sometimes do is just add in a couple of little random trees around the areas just to give it a bit more of a natural feel. There we go. So now we have a lovely forested area in here. Now, as we come further down, I want to change the types of forests I've got. I'd like to put in place into this area in here, which is our swamp area. I want to put in some dead trees and some jungle. So I'm going to use the dead tree symbol here. Whoops, that one. Let's put in a couple of rather sad looking trees. That one's not totally dead, but not looking too healthy either. I'm going to open this up so I'm not randomly selecting trees. There we go. I want a few more dead ones there. Certainly up in here we want dead trees. There we go. I'm going to now come down to our jungle trees. And for those, I'm going to use these bright green jungle trees. And I'm going to pop them over the top of those areas where we were having some problems. There we go. Jungles. And if we redraw, you can now see that our textures around those trees that were sort of in behind the mountains because they were part of a texture are now being masked and in fact enhanced by these beautiful jungles that we've got. And I might add a few unusual looking trees in there as well. Just get a bit of variety into our swamp. I'm going to add some scrubland into some of these areas as well. So this is another technique. You can see here we've got scrubland. Let's extend that out a little bit. Lovely. Okay, so our map is starting to come to life. By now you should have learned the two key ways or methods of adding forests to your map. One is to use the automated drawing tools, but use them sparingly. And the other one is to do this entirely by hand and individually, which gives you a lot more control, but of course it takes more time. It's absolutely up to you what techniques you use. So be sparing with your forests. Mix them up a bit, have some variety, but don't overdo it. You really want your maps to have a lived-in feel. Okay, so I'm not going to delve into doing much more of this now. I'm going to let you go and add forests to your map. And then in the next tutorial, we're going to start putting down some additional materials, civilizations, and so forth. So looking forward to that. See you soon.